Have you ever had one of those games where the other support, maybe on the other team, got their ult before you and you're wondering, what could I have done? You were even winning the fight, but you have no idea why the other support is getting their ult faster. Well, today we're going to break down why exactly that is and how you can make yourself just a little bit more effective by changing a couple of things, adjusting your strats a little bit so that you can also get your ult faster. A lot of times, the person who gets their ult faster can take over a point, can push the convoy a little bit better. My name's Adonis, by the way. I stream on Twitch almost every single day. I've been streaming Marvels consistently. I don't come from a hero shooter background, but I do analyze a lot of the games that I do play. I played a lot of Dead by Daylight. Played a bunch of Fortnite as well. And this game is very new in the hero shooter genre. I've never done it before, but hopefully you guys learn a little thing or two. It's probably very basic for most of you guys, but for those of you who don't know, I hope you learned something. Let's get into it. So what you're looking at is the left side is going to be the cloak and dagger that's actually just going pretty much fully dagger. Healing 90% most of the time, almost never going into cloak and just staying as they call a heal bot. Whereas the right, it's a little bit more diverse, throwing some daggers into the enemy as well as healing their teammates. While the teammates are in the bubble on the right hand side, they're going into offensive mode a little bit and helping out, right? And with that, you start to see the difference in the percentages as they go up. Now, obviously, this is not a real match, so you want to keep that in mind. Everything is always going to vary, but every last percentage point counts. The one on the right gets it to 100%, while the other one on the left is only still at 80%. And that might seem minuscule, but think about how many times a point can be won last second. You can make a good push. You can make a good hold, whether it's domination, convergence, etc., because you got there faster. So this has shown me truly that you just have to mix in, even if it's for a little ticky-tack tap damage, to get your ult faster in order to maybe secure a point first. You use your ult, guess what? Your teammate could push up. Maybe you end up killing the other support who now doesn't even have a chance. Now they get sent back to the lobby for 10 seconds, and then they got to walk all the way back up as well. So these are things that you have to start incorporating in your gameplay when it makes sense, right? Use your own reasoning when to be more support and when to be more offensive. And obviously, this is more so for the support role than it is for any other role, right? DPS is do the most damage. You'll get your stuff back as, very quickly. You have people like Namor who will get his power back. I mean, between Namor and Moon Knight, maybe even Storm now, I don't know who gets it faster, but you can get it pretty fast, right? Namor has his squids that he throws on the walls, and every single time those squids touch somebody, that's an extra percentage of damage. Even when you're as a tank, you almost always, no matter who you are, whether you're Groot, whether you're Magneto, always be shooting. ABS, always be shooting, no matter what, because that's extra free ult charge. And ults in this game change everything. Can change the complete... The difference between winning and losing a game is if you're holding on to an ult for way too long, right? How many times has your teammate, you have an Adam Warlock who never said, "Born again"? You never heard it. Or "Rise, my friends." You never heard it. How many times is a Squirrel Girl maybe holding on to her Squirrel Stampede for just like this perfect moment? You don't need to. There are some players that are going to actually get it back extremely quickly. Now, outside of that, we also have something like this, what you're watching here now, right? So if you preemptively, let's say for Cloak and Dagger, you put the bubble on your team. Let's say they're holding a point. If they're going to hold a point or anything like that, right? You put your bubble down. They're gonna, this is how typically I like to play, if I'm honest, because I feel it gives my tanks a little more confidence when they're playing, right? You don't want your tanks playing scared. You don't want them thinking like, oh man, when's my next heal coming in? I have no idea. I got to step back. I'm not getting supported the way that I wanted to. I want to get pocketed a little bit, right? So in this one right here, this is the difference between, if you use it early, tactically, I think it's a really good idea. It really can be a good idea. You also do see, though, the difference between using it early versus using it late. If you use it early, you're not going to get the full percentage value that you might want for ult charges, right? The one on the left gets it all the way to 14, 15%, while the one on the right gets it to 20, 22 to 23%. So ultimately, the lower your team is, the more healing the bubble's gonna do, the more percentage you're gonna get for your ult charge. So if you can, save it for when it makes sense, but also don't gamble it where now your entire team is gonna die because of it. And that goes for Sue Storm's ability as well with her little shield and things like that. You want to ultimately choose the right time and place when this makes sense. Obviously, if it's a tank up in the front by himself and it's a 5v him, you know, definitely give that man the bubble sooner rather than later. But let's say there's only 2 people left and it's you fighting. It's your tank fighting maybe your whole team versus 2 other people. Maybe you can hold the bubble a little bit longer just to squeeze out a little extra of that ult charge. Does that make sense? All the while, remember, still actually throwing daggers, throwing your E ability, or any other ability that you might have as a support. Just keep that in mind. Switching between going offensive and defensive is really how you make that difference. If you've never had one of those matches, I did back when, I'm like, yo, we're winning the fight. You know, sometimes you're winning the fight and you ask yourself, well, how is it that we're winning the fight, but the other Cloak and Dagger is already using her abilities, right? We're pushing them back. A couple people even died, but now all of a sudden Cloak and Dagger has it. You know why? It's because Cloak and Dagger's team is dying, right? They're taking more damage, and because they're taking more damage, she's ultimately doing more healing. Now, at base, I believe everyone's ult goes up 1% every 4 seconds. So it's gonna take you a little bit long. If you're healing someone who's already healed, you don't get any percentage for that. If I hit them with a dagger, it really doesn't do anything. It might look like I'm healing them, but nothing actually happens. Whereas if you're healing a tank who's consistently taking damage, that ult charge is gonna come back faster and faster and faster. Does that make sense? So if ever you see that, that is why. I think some other mistakes sometimes that we see, or that happens very often, and I think just a small communication maybe will help, is when you use your ult charges, especially the defensive ults, you know, the Cloak and Daggers, the Lunas, etc., the Mantises, a lot of times there is no communication between the team, and one person will use it, then it just was the right time to use a defensive ult, and all the defensive ults come out at once. There isn't a really good way of doing this outside of just communicating, hey, listen, I'm going to use it on this push here so we can move forward X, Y, or Z. Sometimes they just come out because the supports get jumped on. Who knows? A plethora of reasons. But communication helps so much. Even if you just type it in the chat, sometimes you don't have time to type it in the chat. And that's where I think, even if you're just on push to talk, listen, keep those comms open so you can actually talk to each other. And if somebody annoys you, just mute them. You know, I understand a lot of people sometimes are a little bit weary, a little bit nervous, scared of talking to people on the internet because people are weird. People say some crazy things, but who cares? They don't know you from a hole in the wall. They don't know what you look like. They never met you. Don't let them have that much space in your head. The amount of matches that I've won because simply we communicated is huge. So yeah, it doesn't matter who you're playing as any support role, whether it's Rocket, Loki, so forth and so on. Just keep that in mind. Throw in some offensive plays in there as well in order to keep building up that ult charge. We have a lot more stuff like this coming out in the future. I've played so far 3 days of rank during the season. I was on vacation. I've played 3 days of rank so far on stream, and we've made it up to Plat 2. The goal is Grandmaster. I've never played a game like this, but if you guys want to come through to the stream, please do. Twitch.tv/Adonisaurus. I'm going to be grinding this game excessively, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. The next video will probably be maybe a guide or something, so make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you.